7.6 billion naira for sports utility vehicles for lawmakers. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is said to have submitted a supplementary budget to the National Assembly requesting the allocation of over 7.3 billion naira for the procurement of vehicles for the State House. In the same budget, the Office of the First Lady is set to receive 1.5 billion naira for the purchase of new vehicles. The budget request is set to be part of President Tinubu's broader proposal, which includes a 2.17 trillion supplementary budget for approval by the National Assembly. Within the supplementary budget, the government intends to allocate 2.9 billion naira for the acquisition of sports utility vehicles designated for the presidential villa, and an additional 2.9 billion naira for the replacement of existing vehicles at the presidential villa. Dr. Abati, you know that this will raise a lot of eyebrows, but you know that there is more. The breakdown of the proposed expenses also include the sum of 4 billion naira for the renovation of the residential quarters of the president, while renovation of Dodan Barracks, the official residence of the president in Lagos, would also gulp another 4 billion naira. Also, the sum of 2.5 billion naira is budgeted for the renovation of Aguda House, while 3 billion naira is budgeted for the renovation of official quarters of the vice president in Lagos, bringing it to a total expenditure of 13.5 billion naira.
Ichilema of Zambia.
I had that video. I was going to play it again, but so, go ahead.
President Ichilema of Zambia said, look, he's not going to change vehicles. He will just be using the vehicles that are there. So the question you now raise is, the vehicles that are already attached to the First Lady's office, what is wrong with them? Are we going to change all the vehicles? And then some of the vehicles, official cars in the villa, are we going to change all of them just because we have a new president? It shouldn't be the culture that each time a new president comes, you change all the vehicles. And in any case, this is still by way of supplementary budget. Unfortunately, people are protesting because the same National Assembly that has taken over 70 billion to buy vehicles for members is not likely to say no. It will just say, well, since we got our own, it's good for the villa to also get their own.
I think that image on TV right now is very instructive.
Yes,
the National Assembly spends 53.7 billion on cars for lawmakers in 12 years.
The third point is that in a country where inflation is shooting through the roof, there are concerns about foreign exchange. People would genuinely, legitimately feel scandalized that you are going to use public funds to go and buy luxury vehicles, for whatever purpose. So these are the issues here. Our leaders should be seen to also be cutting corners.
Yes.
They should be seen to be making sacrifice. And the most unfortunate part of it is that even when they don't make this sacrifice, these vehicles will not be bought locally. They will be imported. So, and the point has been made again and again that there are local companies here that are producing cars, and it should be good enough to produce, to patronize local car manufacturers, even if they are assembling, even if they are car assembly plants.
I love that you mentioned that. A lot of people talk about the Innocent Motors. This is not. This has been trending. This was trending last week. It's a local manufacturer, and they produce vehicles that can be befitting for these lawmakers and the presidential villa. But before you speak, Rufai, I spoke to our State House correspondent this morning, Adesua Omoruwan, and she talked about the fact, she said she spoke with the budget minister, and here's what she said. He says that the figures are justifiable because, there is a minimum standard that the state should provide for the presidency. Another thing that the minister also said was that, he gave an example of the German councillor who was received on Sunday, which actually got a lot of reactions because people were saying, why was he received in that manner and all of that. He said Nigerians should have provided a more befitting vehicle to pick him up. I don't know how much more that acceptance would have been, Rufai and Ayo, and that he thinks Nigerians should focus on big issues like the military getting the whooping 605 billion naira in the first instance from the Tinubu administration? Rufai, I know you want to speak. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so I've been itching to talk.
Yes.
Concerning the German ambassador, I think the best way to have received the German ambassador, if we're a sensible nation, I talk because I'm a patriot, should have been to use an Innocent or Nord car to drive the German chancellor. And when the president gets in with him, he says to him, that car is made in Nigeria. That's the height of Nigerian engineering, auto engineering. Then Germany will start to take us seriously. But if we are glorifying ourselves, we could have done better, all right, then it is very, very sad for us as a nation. I specifically wanted to talk about this thing, that as we called out the senators, we are also calling out the presidency here, taking all those monies for why people are suffering. But what I really wanted to say as regards even those renovation is the fact that as a nation, we need to introspect and ask ourselves what we truly want. And I'll bring up the matter of a place called number 24 Sussex Drive. 24 Sussex Drive is the official residence of the Prime Minister of Canada. The residence had been run down for so many years. The money allocated to it is about $40 million. But because the Canadian president or prime minister fears the people of Canada so much, and they must justify every amount spent, they've not been able to fix the official residence. The Prime Minister of Canada, as we speak today, does not live officially in the official residence of Prime Minister of Canada just because of $40 million. Canadian GDP is $2.11 trillion. Nigeria GDP is less than $400 billion. But you can see a country, despite the big economy and all of that, will still scrutinize its leaders. But a country with a small GDP that has not done well economically is so quick to spend frivolously on its leaders. So you can see the reason why economies like Canada does way better and economies like Nigeria and Africa generally are reducing. And that's what, to tie to what Dr. Abad said, that's what Ichilema was trying to explain to the Zambian people that they didn't get. May God help us as a nation.
All right. We'll take another story then. The Minister of the Federal...
In the Ichilema.
Well, fellow Nigerians, as you can see, I'm almost with, no comment per se. But I like you guys to see another report, another breakdown, of these figures. And whatever you're going to be saying, unfortunately, it is just about the president, his wife, the presidency. Nothing about Nigerians. It's more than just take a listen, Sha, because this is getting really, really frustrating. And the question is, are we going to continue to carry on like this for the next 4 years? Are we going to carry on like this? This is a fundamental question. Because this country is going deep down the ditch. Under the very, eyes of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's going down the ditch. There is nothing that this government is doing that is instilling hope at all. None. Both the executive arm, the legislative arm, they are just driving this country to the abyss. Let's take a listen to the breakdown.
A deeper look into the supplementary budget forwarded to the National Assembly by President Bola Tinubu reveals that the federal government plans to spend 6.9 billion naira on procurement of vehicles for the State House. In the proposed budget, the Office of the First Lady, which is not a constitutional creation, will get 1.5 billion naira for the purchase of new cars. Also, the federal government has proposed to appropriate the sum of 5 billion naira for the purchase of a presidential yacht under the Navy capital expenditure, while another 2.9 billion naira is to be spent on sports utility vehicles SUVs for the presidential villa, and another 2.9 billion naira on replacing cars in the pool. This amount is different from another 12.5 billion naira to be spent on the presidential air fleet. In all, President Tinubu plans to spend 28 billion naira on the State House, out of which 4 billion naira is voted for the renovation of residential quarters for Mr. President. President Bola Tinubu had on Tuesday forwarded the supplementary budget of 2.17 trillion naira to the National Assembly, asking the lawmakers to expedite action on it. Tinubu, in the executive letter to the National Assembly, said the supplementary budget would support provisional wage of 35,000 naira to workers, costing the federal government 210 billion naira and 400 billion naira as cash transfers to vulnerable citizens. Tinubu also explained that the supplementary budget will shore up the country's security and agricultural sectors, and that part of the funds will be used for the off-season governorship elections in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa. The letter was, however, completely silent on the billions of naira allocated for the purchase of new cars in the State House and Presidency. The Presidency has in the meantime declined to make any comment on the matter.
Oh, God have mercy. Nigerians, you've heard. I don't know how sweet it is for you. I don't know how bitter it is for you. However, I want to ask a few questions. One of them is, I did hear just now in this report that 1.5 billion is being requested for the office of the First Lady. And the question I'm asking is, for her to change her cars, what is the constitutional provision for the office of the First Lady? It's a fundamental question. What is the constitutional provision? Because as far as I know, if Bola Ahmed Tinubu was elected to become president of Nigeria, I don't know if Remi Tinubu was on the ballot and was elected to become the First Lady. I don't know the constitutional function of the office of the First Lady in this Nigerian state. We should ask the question, so, because whether we like it or not, we are suffering in this country. And to hear that a new president comes on, our suffering increased. He is telling us to endure. He is giving himself billions to change cars that did not spoil. Billions to renovate his living space. Billions to renovate another living space. Billions to buy yachts. Billions to buy this, billions to buy that, and we should endure. On top of this, this man is running the biggest cabinet ever in the history of this country. This man is borrowing money from World Bank, putting us in more debt. What is the constitutional role of the office of the First Lady? Why do we approve taxpayers' money to change cars for the First Lady? Man, our politicians are killing us in Nigeria. Oh. I hope our young military officers are watching. I just said that. Because this is definitely not sustainable. You hear a shameless lawmaker elected by his own constituents asking or telling us that the roads are bad as a justification for him to get the benefit of a 160 million naira SUV. So if the roads are bad, is the reason why you must get SUV of 160 million naira. Who is supposed to fix this road? These roads that are bad, who are supposed to fix them? So the road is not good for you to ply. It is good for the other Nigerians who are using cars of less than 1 million or less than 2 million. So there is no question about 50-something billion being paid for you guys to buy cars. You guys could not even say, okay, let us use this money to fix the roads in our constituency. Would that not be a good thing? Oh gosh. Why will I not remember Peter Gregory Obi, which has been verified that when he was governor of his own state, he de-emphasized the office of the First Lady and said, man, office of First Lady will not exist. There will be no budgetary allocation for office of the First Lady. Imagine. This man never even go anywhere. 5 months in office. 2 months to the end of the year, or less than 2 months to the end of the year, you are already giving a supplementary budget of 2 million. We never even talk about the budget for the next year. And yet, we have borrowed so much. Our naira is now valueless. I told somebody a few days ago, I said, man, go and mark my word. It is just because of, say, man, when they do bank transfers, by now, they probably would have been planning to release banknotes of like 50,000 bills, 100,000 bills. That's where we are going now. Before the end of next year, they are going to do that. If the trajectory continue like this. And it is so shameful that everywhere is calm, like it's business as usual. We are suffering, we are smiling, people are dying. Whether you like it or not, we are already at war in this country. War with hunger, war with the state of the economy, war with the state of our healthcare facilities, war with our level of insecurity. The life expectancy of the average Nigerian is reducing. It's not happening by accident. It is happening by these selfish and wicked policies of people like this that have been empowered to take over the affairs of this country. I am enraged in my spirit. I don't know about you. All of these anti-people policies. How am I surprised? Why would I be surprised? When they were campaigning, they didn't give us anything. They didn't promise anything. They are not telling us that it is not rocket science. They didn't promise anything. We are to endure, but they are to live in surplus. And yet, it is the money that's supposed to be used to fix this country and make it at least reasonably okay for everybody. Look at the suffering now. Look at it. Look at it. Nigerians, we owe ourselves a duty. This level of oppression is too much. Too much. It's too much. Just look at, what is it? Please share the broadcast. We will stay on this. We will stay on this for a long time. The policy of these people is very clear. They are not ready. Zambia, a reference was made to Zambia just now. Zambia president giving his emolument of cars. He said, I don't want. I don't want. Let us use the money for the economy. Zambia economy is not good. Let's turn it to other things. Let's save. We have a president who has the largest cabinet in the history of this country. He's still increasing the cabinet. Hombre. Abba, look at check now. This is not good. There's no hope in this. There's none. There's none. Nobody does anything like this. None. When I was in Spain, Spain was having, serious issues with the economy. It was a period of austerity. One young Sanchez was elected prime minister. He's still the prime minister right now. The first thing he did was to cut down the ministries. The federal ministries. He reduced them from 16 to 9. Just to make sure that they cut down. There was so much cut down that can be used in other areas. That could happen in Nigeria. But this man don't want to do them. They are justifying that this is not the threshold we're supposed to be. They are even saying that we should worry about giving 600 million to the military. But they are doing that one now to make sure some military not vest. Military officers, you people are watching. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. When are they watch? I'm not talking anything, but you people are watching. Because at the end of the day, who is going to save us from this sinking ship? Nigeria is sinking. We are dying. Everybody's wallowing in unsuspected pain because of this kind of policies. 50-something billion for National Assembly cars alone. They went on small holiday, multi-millions as handout to them. Why about the rest of us? You are talking of giving 15,000 naira to struggling families or 8,000 to struggling families. Fellow Nigerians, whether they declare it or not, I can tell you that from the government of Nigeria, Nigeria is in an official state of emergency, and the government of Nigeria don't care. As a matter of fact, the government, this kind of democracy, Nigerian democracy, is a big problem to the Nigerian people. This kind of democracy is a big stress to the Nigerian people. This kind of democracy is unwanted. It's unwanted. A democracy that only the politicians care about themselves, and themselves. How about policies that are more public oriented? How about policies to declare state of emergency in our own health care facilities, state of emergency on education, state of emergency on our roads, and de-emphasize this personal aggrandizement, yacht. Where you drive they go? How many rooms Bola Ahmed Tinubu want sleep? You want to 4 billion Aso Rock Villa, 4 billion Doda Barak, all houses of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What is it? So this now why they fight so hard to become president? This is it? Just because of the people's patrimony? I knew we were going to come to this point. And I knew that we were going to be having this discourse. I knew that we were going to... It was going to be like this. But no wahala. So long as God sustains us with breath, we will be speaking out. Nigerians, share if you can share. If you cannot share, we will still live on. Bye for now.
Peace.